welcome in another episode of Insider Knowledge. Today, in a very, very special one, because in a week and 2 days, we have words coming in. And that's why I invited Boulevard to this episode. So, Boulevard, maybe tell something about you, maybe some people don't know you that watching the Insider Knowledge classically.
All right, my name is Boulevard. I'm a relatively new caster. This is the first year that I've been announced to be on the World Championship, so very excited for this opportunity that I've definitely never done before in my life. I'm very nervous, very excited. Definitely one of the newer casters on the broadcast. So, please root for me and go easy on me.
hmm Thank you. I said you might be maybe confused why there's no Aikado or Desert. It's just because they are also competing in worlds. Of course, I'm not that good as them, so I'm not competing. And that's like making tiers when you are yourself competing. It's kind of weird because you're probably gonna put yourself very high, and as well you might be a little bit more biased, maybe towards some people. So that's something. I, for example, went to completely like non-biased, even though I prepare with some people that are on the list. I assume that you didn't help anybody, but did somebody
No.
message you already?
Hash messaged me telling me that he liked my list. So
Mhm.
that's pretty much all I got. The leader of RPG liked my list.
Okay, okay. Before we start, and we have two new things that I want to just cover because we're not gonna be doing any episode beforewards. We're gonna be doing afterwards episode, but I want to leave Desert and Aikado, full time on being able to prep as well. They really don't want to talk about meta because let's be honest, it's not something that you want to do before World Championship. Uh, First thing, big announcement is that we have the casters for this year Worlds. As you can see, it's Alan, Boulevard, Nekra, Spades, and Skarzik. Uh, so we see a lot of names that's coming back. As well, we see, for example, Spades that wasn't there before. I'm pretty satisfied with the list. I think, especially if Alan catch up with the with the meta and stuff, it will be definitely it's a definitely good group of people. I would say that way.
Yeah, I think the one thing I do want to shout out is I'm sure everyone is shocked at the lack of sparkling iced tea. I myself, when I saw the list, was like, "Where is sparkling iced tea?" The best way to put it is we tried. We tried, and it just didn't work out.
Is he at least doing
So I
like
don't want
something in
anyone to think that
production?
we forgot.
Is he at least in production?
No. He
Okay.
was, from my understanding, he was supposed to do production, but then his job was like, hey, because you work for a production company, you're only allowed so many freelance hours of production work a month, and this is too many. And then we were like, okay, can he cast? And then I think they just wouldn't give him the time off.
Okay, okay. That's kind of
Something
weird.
actually fucked, and completely unrelated to LOR.
Okay, yeah, that's definitely a fact. But there are of course some people also that not qualified, not gonna be casting, but I assume we're gonna be doing watch parties. So I see if you're watching, I'm down to invite you into my watch party, and we can maybe do it at least that way. As well, something that I want to just cover as well. We're gonna be having some charity tournament or charity stream between Sunny and Lobster. I think it's something cool to mention. It's gonna happen on December 10th of 6 p.m. of CET. So when usually it's gonna be a few days in the batch. I assume they're gonna play some games against themselves, and the donations gonna go to charity. So that's pretty cool. I'm very happy about this thingy. I guess we can also talk about the thingy that we had today, Alexis. Like there's a lot of viewers today. People really seem to be excited about the new patch because yeah, the champions are just cool, and even I saw it on like the last episode of Insider Knowledge that like people are just excited, like they want to be playing, and I do really think that if you just like TLDR the whole new patch, it just seems hype and people are excited.
Yeah, I don't even think it's like entirely the new set. Like views kind of spiked around the time of the LCQ. Like when people were like, "Oh shit, like I can go make worlds still." The interest in LOR just kind of spiked, and then like because the new set's so cool, like we're just kind of snowballing on it. So I like the direction it's headed.
Mhm, mhm. Okay, I guess we can start up with the tier list. That's something that of course we've been put here. Uh, we agreed with Boulevard that even though we're making top 16, we're gonna start with some honorable mentions because when I was making the tier list myself, it wasn't easy at all. I was like, I'm not putting this person here. I was like, holy, I was so sad to not put some people in. And I assume it was same on your end.
Absolutely. It's tough, especially when like you write down 16 names and then you're like, ah, shit. Like you're going back through and you're like, oh, well, what about this guy? And then like even the people that you have, you're like, okay, like I have this guy at number 12, but like this guy I left off the list is actually probably better than him, but like it doesn't. I don't also put him that high on the global rankings. Like it can get really weird.
Yeah, definitely, it can get very, very weird. First thing, then we gonna. I guess you can start if you want with honorable mention.
So my honorable mention, and it broke my heart not to put them on here, is 4LW. 4LW's year as a whole has not looked great. It doesn't blow me out of the water, right? Had a second place and then just like four top 64/32s, but like we know 4LW is a good player, and we know that when it comes to being the world champion in LOR, usually you have to bring like that weird third deck, right? Like Alan did it with Shellfolk, Aragorn did it with Black Flame Talia. 4LW is gonna have a 4LW pile, and that might be the secret sauce necessary. But like there are just other players that I felt like I had to put above them, and it broke my heart.
Yeah, I definitely do agree with you. And actually, one of the honorable mentions. I don't know how many of you have them. I've probably two players, so I guess we can do that. I've also thought of it as one of the first honorable mentions. It's a person that I was working a lot this year, even. I think he has very good knowledge of the game. As I said, yeah, the results probably taken him down. Though he was able to get the finals in the last Open, and thanks to that, he was able to qualify to the season. Uh, his year wasn't that fantastic, but I think his deck building, even though it's very often like memed, it's like, for the power, right? It's something that it tends to be joke. Very often it's something that just maybe even like breaks the game. I think he, even this year, I think he made really good decks that just took over the game. He was very big, especially when there was, for example, Alice Gnar, something that we were preparing, and he just went with the idea like, why we playing like this bad Sedua's card when we can just play the Allegiance further up, right, from the Pharaoh, and thanks to that, like he just broke the meta. That then able to win the WCQ Open that it was played in. So it was very, very powerful. Actually, it was at an Open, but yeah, it's definitely one of the first players that I was kind of set to not include the list. But I think if he does well, I wouldn't be surprised at all.
Oh, not at all. Not at
Mhm.
all.
Yeah.
For my second honorable mention, I actually have a tie. It's two players that like I didn't get to watch play very much, but their year at like in numbers looks very similar, and it's Talpinator and Sequoia.
Mhm.
Again, didn't get to watch them too much, but they both have six tops. They both have like a very good conversion rate of making it past top 64/32. Like that's a stat that I was really big on this year. Is like how often did you top cut, but more importantly, when you top cutted, how often did you make it to the top 16 or further? And for Talpinator, it was like 66% of the time he's making top 16 or further, like 50% for Sequoia. And
Mhm.
both of them had six tops, which is a little more than half of the events for the year.
Yeah, they're both of them are like very, they're Europeans, of course. So of course I maybe know a little bit more about them. Soccer, of course, part of the LFR. So that's a big thingy. It's like part of the French group. So of course that's gonna be also very much helping him doing the thingy. Uh, I don't have them at all at the list, honestly. I think both of their plays was pretty good. They had very good results, as you mentioned, but um, maybe that's something that I might be a little bit more cooler on EU, and especially on EU, because it's something that I was just watching I was watching every single game, and I remember some moments from them that were maybe not the greatest, but I do think definitely they're definitely good to picks on other mentions. And I said like, what actually was their votes qualifying? When I look, Talpinator had 43 votes points, right, and Soko had 43 points as well. They both qualified with tier points in the end.
And I mean, hey, that's higher than like 99% of the
Yeah, yeah.
Americas players.
Yeah. Well, of course, Americans had it kind of weird because there was a lot of people that were winning the again. There were a lot of people that were taking a lot of points again. Like for example, Desert also had so many points even though he won. Of course, AJ, and so many people that took so many points in Americas. And in the end, like it was so funny to see this that like you like NA is so like lower on the points and like do not qualify with 35 points, right? Even though like BB didn't qualify with 42, right? That's like
Yeah.
I think it like overall like EU was kind of like very unlucky when you just see it here, especially. I guess maybe they cannot see it on the stream. Well, That's something. Yeah, it's fine. But the BB has 42 points. Sonic has 40.2 points. Hollow has 38, and Gabo has 36. It's just it's bigger number that Donut has, for example, that already that qualify with the with the yellow points. So it's crazy to see that. And maybe also kind of showcase that maybe EU doesn't send the best of the best, while I think the both APEC and Americas maybe do. For
What
my
I w- yeah, I, so
Mhm,
I just real quick. Last year, I wasn't in love with the team that the Americas sent. This year, not super in love with EMEA's representatives.
mhm. I can definitely agree with that. I do think that we sent very still good players. But
Oh yeah, well
we
you're
go
sending like 22 players, so like you've got to
yeah,
have
yeah.
some good
We
ones
got
in there.
22
But
players,
like
but
as far as like the overall 22,
yeah, I can see it. That was like let's just do weird thing on here, man. A lot of people just like shit the bed so often, and that was something that was just happening every season. Like it was like so many people were like, okay, if I just stop, I qualify. I was even part of that, and I just didn't qualify to the even top 64, right? And that's something that was happening so often in the EU. And as against we can see also, then BB didn't qualify with 32 points, and like the list, of course, maybe could have been better, but these players still, showcase why they deserve the spot. Something that I have on the honorable mentions, um, it's a player that I think if there's somebody to just destroy with prep, I do think there's one person that I think has big potential, and I think that's Roji. I think Roji and his like world Church of Dragon had crazy meta reads, crazy meta, influence in the past during Warrior, Infinite Patterns, right? Skaters. These players just were dictating the meta so often. Of course, I think Roji plays sometimes tend to be a little bit more questionable, but if he's gonna be able to step up with the prep, I think it can definitely put him on the honorable mentions, and the prep can just put him so ahead, I think.
here's some things about Grandpa Roji. Number one, someone won a tier 1 event with Talia Malphite this year, and it wasn't fucking Grandpa Roji. Number two, I I'm gonna like have a lot of internal bias against the 3 returning players from America's last year, Roji, Donut, and
Mhm.
Tankbuster, because their combined record at Worlds last year was 1-8. They literally could not have done worse.
That win with
Roji
Roji.
was the
Yeah.
That was with Roji. Roji's single win was against Donut. So like they
Oh.
literally couldn't have gone 0-9 when we take our 3 returning players. Like obviously they've all improved a lot over the year. I'm like Roji didn't have a top before Worlds last year, and I think he's really grown a lot this year. But Roji is someone where like last year I was constantly putting him on my players to watch, and he was constantly letting me down. And I'm like, I had to draw a line in the sand. I was like, no, I will not get baited by Grandpa Roji anymore. I would love to see him succeed, but I gotta keep him off these lists for my own sanity.
Mhm. Yeah, I can definitely see that. Like I do definitely see this concept that yeah, he was definitely the thingy. But I said I do think the prep, because I don't know if some of the viewers might not know that people were playing for a week now on the Alexis, and now they're gonna have, I think it's gonna be a week or something like that, to prepare on the live server as well. So that's gonna be the thingy. And I just do think that the OG and the OG team that is behind him can just take advantage of that, and that's something that why I put him. But it's still not enough for make it to top 16. And I
God, I
guess
hope you're right.
yeah, I do believe I do believe Roji. I think he definitely also his play also got much better since the last words. But of course it's my beating. And the last person is Anophiles, but he renamed to Adiposus Omentum. Uh, if I spell it right. And that's a player that is so weird because this guy showed up in 2 events. He won one and he got second place into another one. And I'm like, I don't know. Like, he's of course from EU. If you don't know, it's maybe one
Yeah,
of the.
so it's hard because they changed their name so many fucking times that I don't even know if I have the full picture on them, because they changed their name at least twice that I know of.
Mhm,
And then when I was going through the stats, I don't even know if I remembered to change their name and homogenize it on all the sheets. So like I still might be missing information on them.
yeah, yeah. Like it's something that I said it because I'm missing information. I just saw him in 2000 basic, and that was win and second place. Maybe somebody that maybe if we even we know, but we don't know that it's somebody that we know. But just because of this, I don't know if I can trust somebody like that to be in my top 16. Even though their results probably say that they should be there. So that's my one of the last. That's my last honorable mention there.
Gotcha. We can go ahead and move on to the top 16 then, because I've got 3 honorable mentions up there too. So
Yeah, yeah. We can go to top 16. Oh, I'm down to start if, and we can like go back to back.
yeah,
fir-
sounds good.
First name, and I think that's somebody that a lot of people are gonna be. I think that's my like first hot take, but it's RPG member, and my
I
issue with
promise it's not hotter than mine. So
it's my issue with RPG member is that they did so well in early, and especially this player did so well in early, and then they just kind of disappeared. They casted quite with Hash especially and Aegis, and the first person on top 16 is Card Gamer. Uh, when I hear Card Gamer speak, he's very very knowledgeable. He very know what he's talking about, and that's something that even if, when I was listening to like Mastering Good podcast, when I was listening him when he was casting, he's very knowledgeable. But because of the thinking that he played only in the first season, basically in Glory Navari, he qualified thanks to the Glory Navari Winter points, and then kind of disappeared. Is somebody that I just don't know if I can put him higher, but I wouldn't be surprised if he just does better.
my number 16 spot is a hot take in the opposite direction. It's not like someone that you think should have been higher. It's someone where you might not even know who this is. You're EMEA, so you might. But my number 16 is PVH.
Okay.
So I talked a little bit earlier about the X Factor. You need that one weird ass deck to win the world championship, and nobody has those like PVH. PVH has 4 tops this year, never did worse than top 16, and has a top 4. Their top 4 in the Eternal format was with Braum fucking Swain. Their top 16 in the Eternal Open, like all 3 of their top 16s were Fate's Voyage Onward, and one of them was with fucking Heimerdinger Volabear. Like, dude is just consistently doing well when making it to top cut and doing it with these random ass fucking decks.
Yeah.
And that's my soul read, my called shot, PVH.
Yeah, I definitely can see that. Like I was, and very often when I was just casting or watch thing the open, I was like, man, can we see PVH? Because man, his decks are so fire. And I definitely do agree on that thingy. Um I don't I meet him quite sometimes on ladder, but I don't know much about that guy. But yeah, when I see his play, it was very thinky. And something why you may be mentioning the X Factor, it's definitely very important to mention that first world champion Alan played Shellfork. The deck was very bad. Second world champion Aragon played Talia, Ziggs, Black Flame. That deck was also pretty bad. So like that's maybe the X Factor that maybe people just not gonna expect, and it's just gonna take advantage of the format or something like that.
Yeah, LOR players are awful about playing against things they've never seen before. Like they need the stats like a textbook. They got to be able to study that. If they're seeing something for the first time, they adapt horribly.
Yeah, definitely do agree with that. And I guess you can go on your top 15 now.
All right, my 15th place is Drissoth.
Mhm.
Number one, maybe my boy needs the confidence boost, and if he does, I'm here to give it to him. I know Drissoth doesn't like have crazy numbers for the year, but I called my shot with him. He said, "Do you think I'm the best player in the top 64?" I said, "Yes." He won the event. I'm running it back, baby. Drissoth for number 15 absolutely has to be on this list for me.
Even though I do kind of agree that it doesn't have that crazy results, but he qualified in Glory and our WCQ, right? And then he was streaming day one without delay. Like basically every, and then some, of course, he missed some of the day ones. And he still was able to top. He was still able to put some top eight. I think there was also some top 16. And yeah, of course, the issue on Desert is that he's the guy that's gonna tell you play good decks. He's the guy that he's gonna be like, just play good decks, bro. And that's something that maybe can hurt him because there's not gonna be that much data going into the World Championship, and that maybe can hurt him. But I do agree with you that he's a very, very good player and somebody that definitely I think I'm excited to be watching.
The thing that could hurt him the most, I think, is if he decides that he doesn't like the meta or he doesn't think he has a good lineup, there is like a 50% chance that he brings Lurk just to troll me.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe. Even though I'm gonna be checking on him that he doesn't bring anything like this. Like I told that to Aikado. I'm gonna tell this to Desert. Just double check on me with the lineup. So you don't do well. Because so you do well. Because it's my co-caster in the InsiderKnowledge. Even though I don't prep with them, I do still hope they're gonna do well. Of course,
you can still sign off on it.
Yeah. But the top 15 that I have myself is FNP Chenia. player that, of course, made top 4 last Worlds. I have some more notes. Something that I might be a little bit less knowledgeable of Apex players, even though I was trying this whole weekend, rewatching some Apex. It was quite a long prep from, because I was mostly watching EMEA into Americas, and usually I was sleeping during APEC. But going over Runeterra points as well, qualified, had very good result. He had, I think, 2 top 4s, and just returning from last Worlds. Somebody that also, because he's part of FNP, can be definitely very valuable to have, for example, pair with person like JO1, right? So person that I think definitely might do pretty well as well. And made it to top 15 for me.
All right. For my, I guess I'll go next then. For my 14, I
Mhm.
also have an APAC player. I have Sora Haru. I'm not, look, year 1, I'm not getting caught with my pants down again. I'm putting a fucking Japanese player on the list. I'm pretty sure Sora Haru is the best Japanese player out there right now.
Mhm.
They've got some pretty good results. I think it was let me take a look at this. Yeah, a win, a top 8, a top 16, so like 6 tops, 50% conversion to make it past top 6, past top 32, which is like a stat that I was looking at like maybe a little bit too heavily this year. But I think that like Sora Haru is another player whose name I recognize, which intuits to me that like they did some stuff in 2022 and maybe even 2021. So that's where I'm putting my bottom APAC player.
Yeah, Sora definitely impressed me. He was very consistent. He had 52 points, actually the second biggest point gain throughout this year. And good player. I don't have him myself on the list, but he was very, very close. And definitely somebody that is also definitely worth mentioning. And I'm happy that you have him on your list. When we go into my top 13, though, on my 13, I have a person that was very consistent this year. Didn't spike at all. And it's somebody that I do pair with as well. It's Sorry. Sorry is a type of person that I do think he grew a lot. If you asked me, like, for example, a year ago, what do I think about Sorry? I was like, I was pretty down on him, but he had amazing results this year. He made multiple top 8s. And in the end, he qualified with yearly points in the end. And very good player. Somebody that I said I do pair with. I do know how he views the game, and I think he use it pretty well. Of course, something that he tweeted today is that Monica is apparently bugged. That bug is not gonna get fixed, and that his broken deck is not gonna be working or something like that. So that's something maybe funny about Sorry that I have.
Sparkling Ice Tea also tweeted out, "Sorry is gonna win Worlds, you fucking idiot," at Boulevard, because I didn't have Sorry on my list, and I mentioned in my video like, hey, I know Sorry's like very high up there in EMEA in terms of like tops, yearly points, all that kind of stuff. But like 2021, I thought Sorry was one of the best players in EMEA. 2022 could not have had a harder fall off. And without having a spike, I just don't know for sure that he's gotten over that 2022 hump for me. But I would love to see Sorry do well,
Yeah.
but just didn't quite make my list.
Yeah, well, like he has me in his prep group, right? That's of course the big selling point for me.
That's probably why he didn't make my list. Yeah. I was like,
I get it. Yeah.
last year I put Baya at number 3, and then they didn't make it out of top 16. So like,
I made
ugh.
it top 8. What you mean? I made top 8. I had
Did
very
you?
yeah. I think I had the like easier group ever, but I made top 8. Yeah.
Oh yeah, every NBA player made top 8. I did better on my rankings last year than I thought I did.
Yeah, of course, man. Yeah, every EMEA player just did well so much. That's something that might not happen this year. Also, there's of course new format with us of 64 players. But he has the numbers on their side because in the end they have one more player thanks to Aragon. So uh, you
We'll
know.
see how well that does you. So coming in at my number 13, I actually have Adipostas Automentum. I know them by Anopheles. I have them written down as 4 top cuts for the year, but again, like they changed
Mhm.
their names so many times that if anything, I'm missing a couple of them. But to me, like a second place and a first place, that's not too far off of 2 first places in my mind. And so
Mhm.
when there's 11 events over the course of the year and like, 2 first places or like a first and a second, that's really, really good.
Yeah, I said like it's just my issue that like he's you. That's why he's like in honorable mentions for me only is that like he's probably a very good player, but like it's my thinking that because I'm maybe a little bit more biased towards like ladder as well. Something that I definitely do value in because I play a lot of EU ladder. I'm one of the grinders, so I see a lot of these people a lot, and that's something that because I didn't see this name much, it's maybe something that why it might be a little bit lower on my list. But yeah, definitely very good two performances at least in two opens when he won and he got second place. Uh, Also, he made Boxer to qualify, so that's
Yeah, that's you can look at that one way or another, I guess.
but my top 13 is actually the somebody that we already have in your top 16, and it is the one and only Desert. I guess a lot of was already thought about him. Yeah, hopefully he's gonna play good decks, but hopefully we're gonna find a good decks, or he gonna find a good decks, or the people that he prepares with gonna find a good decks. And yeah, I think big thing on Desert is just telling me that like he has so much experience, right? And that's something that I think will be valuable because for a lot of these people, it's gonna be first like a real big tournament. Worlds is completely something different than any other open that you played. It's something different than when you play Ages. The stakes are just so much higher, and I just could have seen it, especially at me in first Worlds, that it did something with me. It just wasn't the ordinary tournament. It wasn't ordinary season. It was just something different. And that's something that I think Desert might have big advantage from because he has so big, for example, MTG background and stuff. So that's something that I definitely do give Desert as an advantage.
Look, I'm happy you put Drissoth higher up. I felt bad about how low I had him on there. I almost didn't have him on there at all, but I'm glad I could make it in there. So my number 12 and 11 are actually kind of a package deal. So my number 12 is Boxer, and my number 11 is AJ the Pro. So when we look at Boxer's year on paper, it's actually not that impressive. So obviously you had the 2 wins. That's crazy. But we've got Little Boxer on Twitter claiming to be a different person than Big Boxer. You know what? Sure, I believe you. That means I have to take all of Little Boxer's top cuts out of Big Boxer, which puts him down to 5 top cuts for the year, one of which was the fucking LCQ, so that doesn't even really count. So he's got 4 top cuts and 2 wins. When you look at AJ the Pro, AJ won the same 2 events that Boxer did and did it with 5 additional top 64s throughout the year. So like AJ just has a significantly better year than Boxer on paper. Boxer just did it in EMEA, has the recency bias, and has all of this drama surrounding him that keeps his name in everybody's mouth and keeps us constantly thinking about him. But it was wild to me to look at the numbers and be like, oh, you're just a European AJ the Pro, but worse. And I don't think people are that high on AJ.
I get you. I kind of agree with you on that take, but I have thinking that Boxer did something that nobody did before, and that's winning 2 tournaments in EU. Nobody else has 2 tournaments. Of course, if we don't count Teddy seasonal and EU Masters, right? Nobody has that in EU, and that probably just means something because both APAC has it, Americas has it, but only Boxer is the player in EU. AJ also definitely good pick, I think. I guess we can do this package. It was very strange to see like both EU and NA having winning back to back, even though one of the books didn't count, what we know. So like actually like officially he didn't win 2 opens, but he basically did. Also
But he did, he did though.
But he also funny thing that he changed 4 cards, so that was also the thing. But yeah, I can see that. I think both players are amazing and they just showcase. Also, they just kind of showcase in the like last season, basically, right? That's also like big selling point that they were in form in the last months, right? They're not like some of the people that just spiked at early and they didn't then show up. But of course, then there's the drama and stuff. It will be interesting to see what's gonna be happening with that. On my position 12, though, I think I have somebody that I assume you're gonna have much higher. I haven't seen your list. I guess I didn't mention it, but I haven't seen your list, and it's somebody that I think it's the most consistent EU player ever, and it's Ultraman. Ultraman qualified, of course, with seasonals. He qualified with seasonals at start of the year in January. But even though he's very consistent throughout the year, what I remember, because he's so consistent, we also saw a lot of his games. And something that I just cannot remember is how many questionable plays Ultraman made, in my opinion. Like it was something that he didn't have any payoff in Jananila. He decided to slipstream on turn 3, and he didn't have like anything, and he still got like the rewarded. It's something that just stays in my mind, and if I'm just concerned that if he's not gonna get rewarded like he did, and the questionable plays also something that comes into mind is like Echo Jigs as well that he, for example, played. Like, of course, he has, of course, the disability that I've seen too much of Runeterra. But when I saw him, it usually wasn't the greatest, play possible. But of course, something that goes definitely his way is that he's just so consistent.
I do have Ultraman a little bit higher on my list. And I will say that like Ultraman and Shenia both kind of have this thing where like if you watch them play, you're probably gonna disagree with a lot of what they're doing, but they still get over the finish line pretty much all of the time. And it's one of those things where you start to have to question, like, okay, am I actually the one that's wrong? Like they keep doing this shit and they keep winning with it. And so like I'm not saying that Ultraman's like, the god of EMEA. Maybe I am. He's at least in my top 10 that we know from here. But Ultraman also does this really weird thing where it's like every time I look at a deck and it's like doing really well on ladder and I'm like, wow, this deck fucking sucks. It's way too threat light. That's an Ultraman deck. Conservatory, Nora Swain. Every time you look at a deck with just like one fucking win condition, that's an Ultraman deck, and he's gonna draw the win condition, and I hate that.
Yeah, yeah. I can definitely see that. Yeah, I said like he's so consistent, and I think like if I wasn't maybe a little bit biased because I've seen so much of EU gameplay this year because I didn't top that much. I think he will be probably higher, but because I've seen maybe too much and a lot of like things that I was like really questioning, uh, as well. Yeah, a lot of like straight up misplays in my opinion. He's just gonna be a little bit lower, but I wouldn't be surprised if he even takes it all because the results he has behind him. Like he has so many top 8s. He won the season this year. Like he had crazy even though like he also didn't play that much. So
Yeah, no, I get it. And that's why I'm happy that I'm doing this with you because like you said, you had to sleep during APAC. I had to sleep during EMEA. Like I could watch APAC, I had to sleep during Europe, and then I could watch the Americas. And then by the end of the weekend, like I really don't feel like rewatching EMEA. So a lot of those players, like I'm going based off of like the little bit that I saw or like, just their numbers and stuff like that. But I've still got Ultraman a little bit higher is probably just the best way to settle it.
but they still top 12, right? Let's be honest, top 12 is so
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
They're like it's
Top
like
16 is good.
yeah, definitely. Next up on the list is second RPG member. It's one of that played a little bit more than the others, especially for Americas, and it's D-Tank Buster. It's somebody that you really question as well, right? From the last words, because Americas did very poorly last words, and D-Tank Buster, I think he had pretty good read on meta, what I remember. But I remember that he maybe overthrew the meta, that he was like, everyone's gonna bring CS or something like that was his read, and I'm gonna play this Sejuani and beat it. I'm gonna play Plunder, I'm gonna beat the CS with Sejuani, even though then you realize that CS kills you on turn 5. It's an amazing player. He qualified with a WCQ win in Head Over the Hunters, and it's somebody that I think can do once again well. Once again, he kind of, I think, disappeared, but even though he still has so many points in Americas, he's actually third place in total points in Americas as well. He also did pretty well in the community tournaments. I remember that he won one of the Master Kunta Opens this year, for example.
Yeah, so I don't have Tank on my list, but I definitely am not mad at anyone that does. Tank, like you mentioned, is actually the only player to win the Mastering Runeterra Open and then go on to win the immediate Tier 1 vent after the fact. So, like, had that back-to-back weekend. My concerns with Tank are nerves. He had not only did he not do well at last year's Worlds, but, like, he had a really big moment where it's like, you just need to not find the singular line where you fuck up this lethal, and he found it and did it and committed to it. And, like, you could tell as soon as he did it that he knew. So, like, I think that nerves are an issue for him. I think that he needs a little bit more comfort decks than some of the other RPG members, and I think a lot of his comfort decks have gotten nerfed. That said, like Freljord's looking pretty strong. The Jax Orin package is looking pretty strong. I'm sure Tank is like very comfortable with that style of Freljord midrange. So like maybe I would like to see Tank do it. Because like when you hear me talk about Tank, it sounds like I hate him. Like it sounds like I have a personal vendetta against him, and I swear to God I don't. I like him. I just don't have him on my list because I'm not 100% sure he's over the nerve issues that I've just forced onto him.
Yeah, okay. You mentioned like okay. I think everyone is comfortable with Big Jackson. Let's be honest, it's been meta for 9 months, and I would assume it's maybe gonna be also one of the meta decks for the worlds as well coming in. So, yeah, Pharaoh's gonna be good, and I do definitely agree that the nerfs are something that definitely is gonna maybe come into play. But when I seen him play, I think, and he wasn't having nerfs or something like that. He just played very very well. So that's something that just showed me up on him, and yeah, I have it thanks to that on top 11.
All right, breaking into the top 10 here. My number 10 spot, I have Aurora, who I don't really think I need to defend. They're when it comes to like most tops, they're number one in APAC, tied with reroll. They've got their win, they've got their top four. Not like a crazy year aside from that, but last year I was like putting Aurora up near Teddy. Like I thought Aurora was the best player that APAC sent last year. I was like flabbergasted that they didn't make it out of the top 16, and I'm like very confident they can do it this year.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. I definitely can see that. Once again, one of the Epic players had a lot of points, a lot of points. Actually, the third biggest yearly points from him. He qualified with uh 3v0 points. So in the last season, he qualified, and yeah, a good player. Somebody that I'm definitely looking forward. I said watch quite a lot, quite a bit of that. And when I saw him, he didn't do any like crazy misplays. So with the combination of the entire points is somebody that I also have a little bit higher on the list even. So definitely somebody that I'm definitely down to watch out. And I guess I can already put him on my top 9. Uh, but
Oh,
on
you
my
got him just one higher.
yeah, just one higher. Yeah. But on my top 10, I have somebody that I don't think you have them here, but it's somebody that
Ooh.
just grew so much and especially just popped off in ages in the latest when there was like the team and he brought his team to finals and it's never work alone. It's a European player that just grows so much this year, and I honestly, it was one of the players that if I didn't know what's good, it was never work alone that I just check on ladder and I knew, okay, this is probably one of the decks that I should be playing. Player that I said had amazing Aegis run where he trioed Aikado team, he trioed my team in as well, and then also trioed another team, and then got up to the finals as said. Uh, had pretty good year, qualified in the last chance qualifier, only player that I have from last chance qualifier, and yeah, person that just impressed me so much this year, and a person that I'm definitely looking forward to looking at these worlds.
Never Walk Alone is a name that I recognize, but like I also like I want to, but I just don't watch Aegis. It's a little bit too much of a time commitment. It's not something that I cast, so it's like, I understand that like their format's a little bit different. So even when I'm looking for like tournament results,
Mhm.
Aegis never really feels like something that I can point to. And like I know the players really love it, but as an analyst, it's just not something I put that much weight into. So I am a little surprised to see you put just any LCQ player on here. I don't think I had any of them. But I don't hate it. I mean, like they're up near the top of EMEA when it comes to like not only top cuts for the year, but like making it past top 32 conversion.
Yeah, yes, exactly. That's my thing. Yeah, like I just once again, this is maybe the thing that it's just I just think combination as well with the combination of ladder when I see him, and I just was kind of impressed by him, right? So I guess that's something that you maybe didn't have that much available as to have as a thing, and I think it's probably my biggest hottest take to be honest. Like I think this is like the most hot take that I have.
I mean, I have PVH at 16, so like I can't say shit to you about that. But going in for number 9, I have Aikado. And maybe I got bullied into this one. Every time I like mention Aikado in a video or anything, I wake up to that man in my inbox, my Discord DMs being like, I heard you, man. How could you forget this about me? And it's like, buddy, I got like 1,000 players I gotta keep in mind. I'm sorry I forgot this. But like Aikado had a very solid year. And Aikado's kind of like the American Sorry for me, where it's like really hot run in 2021, didn't do as hot in 2022, left a bad taste in my mouth coming into 2023. But when we look at the year as a whole, like 7 tops, a little bit less than a 50% conversion rate to make top 16 or higher. The one thing that does concern me is like the top 4 was the first Glory in Navori Open. So like that was a very long time ago.
Mhm.
And then their win, while it was the most recent event, was in the Eternal format. So that does raise some concerns for me, but I don't want to invalidate the year as a whole. I think these are still impressive results.
Yeah, I do definitely agree with you. And once again, one warrior. I don't know what's happening, but Aikado is my top 8. Uh, I think, yeah, I was really questioning, to be honest. Aikado last year, I was like, maybe, I was talking about him a lot. It's a big friend of mine. I do a lot of things with him. I do usually watch party with him, and I was like really like questioning his last year. It was like very sus, but I think he just grew so much this year. I saw he was just once again able to top cut basic a lot of tournaments. I think he maybe didn't have the best the last season where he topped only one, but then he was able to win it, right? So that was something that definitely sold me on him. And I just saw the girl and I saw the potential on him. Issue of on Agada that's maybe also making a lot of people not being on this list at all is his love for spell decks. That's something that if he's not gonna get baited on spell decks and he's gonna go and play actually good decks, I think he might even win it all. But if he gets baited at something bad, and that's something that he used to do very often, it's something that I'm just scared about when I'm mentioning him.
The one thing that I will say for Aikado is like, even though his win was in Eternal, he still did it with like Jacksorn and Karma Set. And I imagine that those are still going to be some very powerful decks coming into the World Championship. Like those were very solid standard decks. The conversion from the Eternal version to the standard version isn't like so different that you basically lose all of the experience. So like when it comes to what the meta was before the new expansion dropped, Aikado had a very solid grasp on it.
Yeah. Also, a funny thing on his win that he basically yoinked at, APEC and BB, right? What I remember. APEC winner and the BB in the last open. That's also kind of funny. But definitely, these decks are probably going to be very meta relevant. And as you mentioning, they are very similar to standard. I don't know. I think Jackson is maybe Torchant and Mander and Karma. I don't even remember what's Karma, but there's not also many tools that there's much difference. And that's decks that, especially the Karma, is something that I think Aikaro just shines on. And if it's gonna be actually good, then it's something that he can definitely bring and do well with it.
At the very least, like he's got the baseline. He knows that like this is what we need to be beating with the new expansion and stuff like that. But getting into my number 8, I have Card Gamer. I feel like you're underrating Card Gamer a little bit. So like I think it was Donut like commented on my YouTube video. So I was talking about how like this is Card Gamer's rookie year. And he was like, "What do you mean Card Gamer's a rookie?" And apparently Donut just doesn't know the fucking definition of rookie. I don't think this is Card Gamer's first year competing, but it could be. This is his first year with a top. So like I'm not really sure his story in terms of like because I know he's been around the scene for a while,
Mhm.
but I don't know if he like wasn't even playing seasonals or wasn't taking them seriously. But for this being his first year with some amount of competitive success, 6 tops is a really good rookie year. On top of the fact that when we look at the top 16 conversion that I've been so big on, is a 66% chance to make it past top 32 when he does make it into the top cut. Has that win over Floppy Mudkip, no less. So like, yeah, I think Card Gamer had like a really solid year, has the top 4 on top of that. And like the fact that he is an RPG member, obviously going to push him even higher. Like he's got a crazy prep group. So like, I know you've got the concerns about like, did very well early in the year, kind of fell off there. Still has, 6 out of 11 top cuts. So like, even throughout the year, did pretty well for himself. And I'm excited to see him do even better.
I said that's somebody that I would, yeah. I was kind of sad to put that low because I said I also think that his knowledge is so good, and I said like I listened to him and at some cast, I listened to him at some podcast, and yeah, he's very knowledgeable. And, like I think his game knowledge is like crazy good. So I wouldn't be surprised, and I'm actually happy that he put him this top 8 because I think that's something that he deserves probably. But if we're going into my top 7, it is actually the AJ. I'm gonna do a little bit different than you do. I'm gonna have the double pack a little bit different and flipped. Uh, yeah, I guess we talked about them a lot. Both of them 2 open winners. Both of them won the same open. Of course, Boxer maybe a little controversy. AJ, doing it on Americas. Yeah, good players. And just if you have 2 major wins, especially back to back, it's something that it's just not easy. And it just probably means that you're a good player. And that's why I have them here.
All right, now comes my hot take. I'm curious to see what you think of this one, but at my number 7, I have FNP Chenia.
Okay.
You can all suck my dick. This is a Riot game, South Korea number fucking 1, baby. You can't. Like FNP FNP Chenia like single-handedly got Blooming Cultist nerfed. The amount of games that he stole with that
Mm,
fucking elusive at last year's World Championship was actually insane. And like I do have some similar concerns to him that you have for Ultraman, where it's like, yeah, I look at your play and I don't really understand where your mind is going most of the time, but then you still make it over the finish line often enough that I just have to start to wonder if like we're just on different wavelengths and you're still making it like you're still doing well enough of the time that like I have to question like maybe there's just two ways to be good at card games.
mhm. Yeah, I definitely see that, and yeah, I think that's like if there's a moment that you're gonna be thinking what happened last year at Worlds, I think it's just the road reaction to the Chenia Scout. I do definitely
Yeah.
agree with that. It's just something that is a very very you know, I just remember it's a stungy, and I wouldn't be surprised. Once again, I just don't think that there's that big gap between, for example, 7th and 15th in my, for example, my tier list. Like,
No.
I think the players are so crazy close to right now, and like I said, I think you can just argue that somebody that I have on 16 can be even like top 5, for example.
Speaking of, here's a okay, this might be a little hot take for my number 6 in that they might be a little bit too low. And my number 6 is Karashi,
Okay.
which like is lower than I wanted them. I wanted Karashi in the top 5, but I couldn't make it work in my head. Obviously, like Karashi has had a really strong year. Like tied for number 1 top cuts with like 8 out of 11, which is absolutely insane. Has the win, even or not the win, sorry, has a second place,
Mhm,
has a top 4, has a couple top 16s. Obviously, won the World Walker seasonal last year, so like one of the most consistent players in the EMEA.
Yeah, definitely. Of course, I said I have him higher. I guess we can touch him a little bit later, but that definitely tells me on Crash, by the way, and why I have him higher is I do think his prep team, like the German thingy, the Crash Teddy, um, so assume tilted as well, is something that I'm just scared of, and it was something that is so powerful, and that's why I just have him higher. But I guess we can touch him a little bit later, and I'm gonna go with my top 5, and that's somebody that eliminated me in top 8 last Worlds, and it's KDA reroll. Uh, Arguably, I would say maybe the best player at last year Worlds. He ended top 3, but I think his play was so clean. And when I rewatched a little bit of APEC, I've seen him as well. He qualified to uh, head of Hunters on that point, so he basically qualified even the first season. He even got the opportunity to do that. Uh, Actually, the second season, but it's still back to back Worlds. Made top 3. Really impressed me last year Worlds. And I'm just looking forward to see his play this year as well.
Me too. So my number 5 is Ultraman. I'm a little bit higher on Ultraman than you. I know that you watch more EMEA than I do, so like I will defer to your opinion on that one. But for me, like just looking at the numbers, looking at like what I've seen of Ultraman's play, what I remember about them, the good plays tend to stand out in my mind a little bit more than the sus ones.
Mhm. Yeah, I do definitely agree. Like I said, like if you look at the results, like Ottoman's maybe even that's even arguing to put him first. Even like I think maybe not, but second, I guess it's something that you can argue with the historic result. If you're not only taking this year into account, but last year and the year before, it's something that definitely sells on Ultraman. But
Ultraman is just like one of the most consistent EMEA players year in and year out.
yeah, definitely. He was in talks about being best EU player every year, basically. I think what I remember. So um, definitely somebody. Um, but yeah, if we go into top 4, very hype, already big stakes. Somebody
I think
that
this is where I think we might have the same player for number 4.
no.
No?
I'm pretty, or maybe not. It's guess.
All right, lay it on me. Lay it on
It's
me.
somebody that I have. I was saying that I'm gonna put him number 1 for some time, but in the end, when I looked at the other players, when I was thinking about the thingies, guess is somebody that once again it's kind of his premier year. I would say these words. He something interesting that a lot of people don't know. Cass was person that was helping me with last year words, for example. It was somebody that I remember that I like made tweet and he was like, "Yo, Bayer, I'm down to help you." I was like, "Okay." I didn't know much about him, and I was like, "Okay, he's high on the ladder. Maybe he's gonna be good." And that was very very impressed even back then. But of course, it's one of the first thingy. He of course won the World's Qualifying Open in but he was head of Hunters, and then he got second second place in the next Open after that. And yeah, I think he's an amazing player. I think something that why I didn't have put him in the at first, even though I was saying about that he's maybe the player that maybe can overcome the number one player, is that I was very impressed by his play, but something that I was noticing from him was that he really likes some of his decks that might not be that good, maybe otherwise. So that's something that maybe put him for me a little bit lower.
Gotcha. Yeah, we do not have the same because my number 4 is JO1.
Oh, okay.
JO1, like, I think the amount of like once again, LOR players get really thrown off when faced with the unknown, and that is like JO1's comfort area. Runs way too fucking many one-ofs all the goddamn time. But JO1 also has probably the most experience out of any player on international metas because they just couldn't stay on their own fucking ladder.
Yeah.
They hit like 5,000 LP in Asia, and then we're like, fuck it, I'm going to EMEA during EU Masters season, and I'm hitting rank 1 on your goddamn ladder. Like, he just came over to EMEA, crushed everybody in one of the most intense ladder seasons, like had a very good year aside. And I think that like the FNP play group is solid. I think that they're going to come with some weird fucking decks, and I think they're going to clap people.
And that's my maybe the hot take that you might be already maybe thinking about who's on my second place, but my third place is actually J1 as well. I do think that mechanically he might be maybe like the best player coming into this tournament. Issue of his is that he might play some weird deck that's just gonna be bad and just gonna put him to lose the tournament.
I'm willing to risk it all. I'm willing to risk it all on JO1 flipping that coin.
But even though, you're the Apex Endure, I put him even higher because I do really believe him. He's insane ladder grinder. He has 6 times top 1 on ladder. Like, this guy is just crazy. I've seen him, of course, on other servers as well. The guy, when I see him deck build, is something that inspired a lot of people in the past, right? It's something that just sells me so much on him, and that's why he's in top 3, and that's why I think he's one of the people that I wouldn't be surprised if he wins at all.
See, that's actually where my number 3 comes in because at my number 3, I do have KDF reroll. I actually put reroll above JO1. I talked about this a lot last year, but the thing that always stands out in my mind is like, let me take you all back and set the scene. It was the 2022 Asia Worlds qualifier, and Chenia and Reroll had to play for the win and into the World Championship. And Reroll started roping immediately and said, this is how I win this matchup. This is what I was prepared for. It just ropes every interaction, eventually loses on time in game 3. The level of thinking and testing that you have to go to get to that point is insane. It means everything, your matchup knowledge, your deck selection, everything was solid. And then you're thinking, how do I get those last few percentage points? Oh, we take them to time. Everything underneath of that has to be rock solid. And like you mentioned, insane play at last year's World Championship. So like, yeah, I managed to get 3 Koreans in my top 8. I'm happy with it.
Okay, I thought that, yeah, I forgot about, that you don't have him yet. So I was that I have higher Apex person than you do, but in the end we end up, I guess, on the same thingy. At my second place,
Yeah, 2 in the top 5.
I said maybe my second biggest hottest take is Kurashi. As said, the big thing is just the prep group that I'm just scared of. I think Kurashi is amazing player. Of course, once again, there's a little bit controversy because of him, because he played on the Yangtze account, right, in the first Open, and then even he wasn't able to then play in the WCQ. And even though he basically didn't participate in 2 Opens, then he was still able to get it on yearly points, and that's something that just shows me on him. Something that just his prep group is so scared. I'm just so scared of like what him, Teddy, and like the German just gonna cook, and that's something that we saw them so do well so many times in before. And as said, like we saw Teddy being probably the best prepared player last Worlds. I think that might happen once again with Kurashi now.
So my number 2 is actually, I guess, it's not that hot of a take, but it's a little bit more of a called shot. My number 2 is At Least I Got the CS. Yeah. I had them a little bit higher. I really believe in RPG. I really like what their year looked like on paper. And the thing that really sold me on them especially was like, they won the same WQ as Tank did. And that showed to me that like RPG has a great understanding of international metas, like sending CS on different decks than they did Tank, grabbing 2 wins at one of like the biggest events of the year. Like that really put me in the RPG fanboy category.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. But I said once again, maybe the concern was, yeah, they definitely do well so much, and maybe a little bit more concern is like once again they then a little bit take too much time off. But I do definitely agree with you. I think my top four is so good. I was like I said, I was having Cass first, I was having J1 first, I was having Kurashi first. Like I'm gonna be honest with you, I did crazy things, and I tried to put this guy not on first, but in the end, I just went into reality check, and I guess I can do it double, right? I assume.
I assume we have the same one. We have Floppy Mudkip #1. That makes sense to me. I think it makes sense to just like it doesn't feel like a hot take. It doesn't really feel like it's someone that needs defending. But I guess for those of you in chat that don't know why we're talking about Floppy, 8 wins throughout, or 8 top cuts throughout the year rather. 2 wins and a second place. Also won the last seasonal of last year that didn't even count for Worlds this year. And just absolutely insane play left, right, and center.
3 majors, right? So 2 major wins. Does anybody have an APAC 3 majors, or is just Floppy with 3 majors?
I think someone in APAC might actually have 3. I'd
Okay.
have to go back and check because these motherfuckers love changing their names. If anyone, I think the closest might be like Pin Ping Ho with like 2 and a top 4.
Oh, Nezik
has 3? Okay.
Nezik has 3. Okay.
Nezik has 3, yeah. I couldn't remember if Nezik only had 2 or if they had 3.
Yeah, I definitely
that's
also
so
a lot of people. Yeah.
here's a weird thing about Nezik, because Nezik's at Worlds this year, won the World Ender seasonal, and then fucked off. Didn't touch LOR for the rest of the goddamn year.
Yeah, and that's also something that we might not. I said I don't think there's much to it on Floppy. Just amazing player. And I said I was scoping up the European, and I'm putting Americas at first. I was scoping the like America's double shit the bad kinda. That's something that I was scoping on. Maybe that's why I'm gonna put maybe Crusher or Cass first. But in the end, yeah, it has to be Floppy. But yeah, definitely, I do agree with the Nezik. I was also definitely looking at him, and also was looking maybe Aragon, but both of these just qualified and just didn't care.
Went to bed, went to
Yeah.
sleep, stopped playing LOR, picked up professional Uno for all I know. But yeah, Floppy at #1, I stand by. America's player at #1, I'm a little bit more questionable on. That one does scare me a little bit.
I do definitely agree with that. It's definitely scary because like how much they shit the bed last time. But yeah, this is the list, and I guess we can combine it and make the top.
Yeah,
16
what are we?
combined.
One player different. I have PVH and you have Never Walk Alone. So we're 15 players similar.
Wait, are we that? Wait, what? Is that that's okay?
Oh no, you have Sorry. Oh, I have Anopheles. You had Anopheles in.
Yeah, I've never.
Yeah, you have Sorry and Never Walk Alone. I have Anopheles in PVH. So it's actually 2 EMEA players that we're different on as well.
Interesting. Holy. So you didn't have Kadri? You didn't have Dating Buster, right?
Oh yeah, that's true. Who else did I have?
Soharu.
Oh, oh yeah, Soharu. Yeah.
I don't have him on mine.
Obviously, I can't read. I started with 1. We ended at 3.
Yeah, but I guess let's do the combining because that's gonna be kind of interesting. So Floppy is of course first. I guess second is probably yeah, it's Cass, right? Into
I guess by waiting it would be Cass.
It's Cass into J1 into then it's Realo then.
Yes.
Kurashi.
It's a 3rd and a 5th versus a 2nd and a 6th, so like it kind of a tie between Reroll and Kurashi.
Yeah, I guess, but I would say probably that because we have both of them, you have like the change isn't that big, right? That I would say probably. That,
oh yeah, sure.
That
makes sense. Yeah. Number 6. Ooh, number 6 is where we get weird.
Yeah, now we need to do math, I guess, right? So Floppy is 1.
Yeah.
Ultraman is like 17, right? Crashes on Shena is 22. Yeah, 22. Card Gamer is 24. Yeah, I guess next we have Shania probably. Unless Aikado has also Aikado has 17 actually. Ultraman and Aikado might be the
no idea what math you're doing, but
I'm just doing my position plus your position.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So yeah, this seems like Ultraman with Aikado probably on like 6, 7. Where's the less spread is on Aikado? So actually Aikado is 6 then, and Ultraman is on 7. Once again, I might just put him down. Aura is 20. AJ is 18. Boxer is 18 as well. Adiposus is 13 plus like, so I would say like 20. I would say like 30 or something like that.
Yeah.
32 probably. So
Low.
how he would be very also was something that I was concerned is it would be like it's just kind of hard to do in the end.
Yeah. Once we get down to the players that we have different, that's where it gets really weird.
Yeah, definitely. So I guess yeah, if we could go then next we have Ultima and Aikado as said, then we have the to get the package, right? I guess we can put AJ and Boxer. It doesn't really matter. Uh then we have Aurora, Shania, and then we have like card game, and then it gets very very weird. So I guess we might just
Yeah.
make combined top 12 because then it gets really weird, and then it's like who you have like a little bit higher outside of the list, but uh yeah, words seem very hype, and as said, like I'm so excited about them.
Yeah, I'm like, I might be a little high on APAC, but I was a little high on APAC last year and they didn't let me down. So like I'll run that back.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we got Drissoth at 13. I knew we had one more player similar.
Oh, there's
And
a
then we get
yeah.
into like,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a this also yeah okay there's a
yeah.
and then it gets
Don't want to leave my boy off. He needs the confidence. That's why he's on the list.
yeah, it's the 30 position I put him at as well on. I believe in him. I definitely do believe in my boys. I got a 6. I guess that's something maybe that catch my eye. That's I got a 6. Thanks, like that we have both of them like in the middle pack, right? We don't like we are
Yeah.
very close on them. But it's crazy to have like quite a lot of like I said 13 set players. That's kind of crazy. I said I didn't see your. Of course, you didn't see mine. Nobody saw mine. So it's kind of crazy to kind of agree on the same thing. Is there?
Yeah, see, and we even had 4LW at an honorable mention. See, tier lists are easy. You just pick. The one thing I will say is like I felt kind of bad because when you look at my list, like first of all, I have 5 AM, 5 APAC, and 6 EMEA, which does not feel correct to me. That feels way too balanced.
Yeah.
But also like it's not that far off of being like if I just turned one of the AM players into an EMEA player, then I'm at like 754, which feels a lot more unbalanced and like more like an actual opinion. But like I couldn't really deny the years that the AM players had. And I think last year was an outlier. I don't think we're getting, one AM player in top 16 and then like 11 EMEA players and a lot of APAC. Like, I don't think that's going to happen again. I think that was an outlier. So, like, I'm willing to forgive that as a year. But I do like looking at our combined list, seeing 2 APAC players in the top 5. That I'm very confident on Korea again this year.
Yeah, I do definitely. Also, like, yeah, it's Rio that was so amazing in the last year. And it's J1, right? That's somebody that we were just waiting when he's gonna get the words, right? And that's somebody that
Yeah.
finally got there. And it's so exciting to have them. And I said I do kind of agree with you. I said I don't think that Ime Ascended that good. It's I don't think Ime Ascended the best players, and that's maybe my thing here that I think there are definitely good players that would just do maybe that even would be on this list. I think Sonic Oleg, I think BB. These pairs I would just have on top 16 if they qualified. But these both were like 1 point off of getting only 11 points. So um, it's something that it might be a little bit pity. And maybe a little bit of pity on the format, but in the end, I think the format was pretty good. And like in the end, I think a lot of people that deserve to qualify qualified. Of course, there's some people that was left out. Maybe I said Sonic and BB maybe a little bit kind of sadly, especially BB that was like he needed just to win the final, right, in Eternal, and he would qualify. So um, it's crazy.
Yeah, a little unfortunate, but like there's always next year, I guess. But even like outside of our top 16, there's a lot of like community favorites that made it that I'm very excited for. Like obviously BR is going to rally behind 4LW. Kuvira is a player that like wasn't on our list because just like looking at the numbers, not an impressive year when stacked up against everybody else in the like there's 22 players coming from EMEA, but like people fucking love Kuvira. Gonna get like absolutely crazy cheers for them. So like very happy to see like Drissoth is another one over in APAC. Like, Nezik is someone that, even though they didn't touch the game all year, I'm sure they've still got a lot of fans. I'm going to be rooting for Nezik. And then, like, our APAC players from the previous year, stuff like that. So, like, there's a little something for everybody. But I do think that while EMEA has, like, good representation in, like, their top 5, top 8 players, it's not the strongest 22.
Yeah, yeah, but I think there was even let's say the thing that even like last year was also like I think like we didn't send the going into the tournament the best pairs as well in a year. Like we said, maybe like Teddy, maybe we can argue me last year, for example. That's maybe like the two pairs that we would maybe argue that should be in the worlds, right? But we didn't send like Ultraman, right? For example, last year we didn't send a lot of crash here. These are also good players that also didn't. So I guess this is more fair that the players that definitely deserve it. I said uh, it's very kind of interesting to see these sort of people. I said that they didn't touch the game, especially the Nezik and Aragon. I will be because haven't seen Aragon basic. I think I've seen it like in 2 top cuts, I think, or maybe one on two, and that was it.
Aragorn?
Yeah, or maybe.
0.
Oh, he didn't top cut at all. I thought I saw
He
it. So I
didn't top
was
cut at all this year.
oh I
Unless he changed his name and I missed it, Aragorn has 0 top cuts this year.
okay. I did then he didn't. Okay, I for some reason thought that I saw him, but I guess I didn't.
Actually, it is worth noting that I am missing the EMEA and APAC information for the first Glory and Navori Open and the World Ender Seasonal. So if he topped one of those, I wouldn't know.
Mhm.
But
Yeah,
outside of that, nothing.
Mhm. Yeah. But the list of players is thingy, and it's of course gonna be high. Do we have starting dates of the? It's gonna be on Thursday. I guess we can check the lore report site. But it's gonna be starting in few days. Do we have the time, starting time for the?
It's like 10 a.m. Eastern, so whatever time it is for you now, subtract 9 hours. Something like that.
It's. We have times on the lore report. We don't have 9 hours from now. You're telling me. So it's I guess
9 hours before now.
So
It looks like it's is
4
that a
p.m.
localized time?
For this is like UK. So for
Okay.
CT, the time that that is used from Riot on official for EU is it's 4 p.m. It seems like.
Okay.
Okay.
It'd help if I knew that,
So,
but
so
you know, I
it's
just show up when they tell me to.
it's yeah, it's 1 hour earlier than it was before at last words, for example. It's in the sheet. It's possible. But yeah.
Is it in the sheet? I love when Red just tells us like information is available and we just can't find it.
Yeah, man. It's like yeah, like where? It's in the sheet.
Which sheet? There's 100 sheets.
Yeah, not in this one. That's something that
Oh,
imagine.
it's
Oh,
not even in the sheet.
imagine. Of course, that's something that I would find. Of course, I would expect that.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, that's where we're looking.
Wait, what? Links at the top. Oh, okay. Whatever. I guess whatever. I'm gonna pin it in the comments if somebody is interested in the starting map. Even though there's gonna be a lot of thingy, I'm gonna be watch partying, and as said Boulevard, he's gonna be casting it himself. So it's gonna be very excited. And yeah, do you have something to add on, or we just gonna finish up this episode?
Yeah, shout out to Boulevard. Nobody else couldn't have done it without you, buddy.
That's actually too. Thank you, Blair, for joining in. Thank you for joining our Insider Knowledge podcast. Hopefully, enjoy this special episode. You can check the Boulevard alone when he was alone on his YouTube. We was talking about it, I assume, a lot. So I said I didn't see it, but I'm gonna just watch it after this if you forgot something. But it's gonna be amazing. 3 days of Worlds again, and I'm so excited about it. I said kind of set to not qualify. It's also set to not like see Jordan qualify, so there's nobody that triple qualified right for Worlds. But
Now, the only people that have been to all 3 worlds now are Alan, who keeps sneaking onto the casting desk, and then Necra and Skarzig. It's just casters, hosts, and Alan at this point.
yeah, fucking Alan. Anyway, I'm gonna be enjoying my watch party. Hopefully, it's gonna be fun. And yeah, have fun casting, and thank you guys so much for watching. And leave a like, leave a subscribe, and see ya in the next Insider Knowledge.